Every street has one villain who makes the neighborhood feel like a dictatorship. For us, that menace was Lucy, the self-anointed HOA president. She strutted around as if she was running the Pentagon instead of a block of suburban houses. What she didn't know was that her latest stunt would cross a line so thick it could be seen from space. Welcome to HOA Karen Chronicles. Comment which country you're watching from. Let's see how far this story goes. I've never had a good relationship with Lucy because I never succumbed to her circus of nonsense. She once fined me $50 because my trash can faced the wrong direction. Another time, she cited me for owning curtains that didn't match the aesthetic of the neighborhood. The cherry on top? A handwritten warning because apparently my front door creaked too loudly and disrupted the peace. I wish I were joking. Neighbors rolled their eyes every time her clipboard came out. No one could breathe without Lucy noting it down as a violation. But when she tried her little games with me, she always lost. I quoted laws, pulled up county codes, and dismantled her nonsense on the spot. Each defeat made her grind her teeth harder, until one day she finally snapped. On a bright Tuesday afternoon, a suspicious black SUV crawled onto my street. Out hopped Lucy in her power heels, flanked by four bulky men who looked like they were auditioning for a discount action movie. Their badges? Crooked laminates that literally said HOA enforcers. I almost laughed when I noticed one had his badge taped on upside down and another had officer spelled with one F. Their belts had dollar store handcuffs dangling like toys. The tallest one swaggered toward me, claiming I'd violated HOA regulations and needed to come for processing. Processing? What was this? A meat factory? I told them they had 10 seconds to get off my property. His smirk vanished. Then, like a bad stunt double, one of them lunged. That's when instinct and years of training took over. The first guy lunged like he thought he was Jackie Chan, but his swing was slower than dial-up internet. I sidestepped, used his momentum, and planted him face first into the grass before he knew what hit him. Lucy gasped like she'd just watched her favorite soap opera hero die on screen. The neighbors started peeking out of their blinds, popcorn practically in hand. The second fake cop must have thought he was in a wrestling match, because he came charging at me with arms wide open like he was about to hug me into submission. I grabbed him by the collar, twisted, and used his own force to send him tumbling onto my driveway. His fake badge popped off midair and slid across the concrete like a hockey puck. The third guy tried to be clever. He circled behind me, thinking I wouldn't notice. Problem was, I've seen this playbook before. I pivoted, blocked his swing, and gave him a quick reminder of why military training doesn't fade. A swift knee and an arm twist later, he was on the ground groaning, clutching his shoulder like it owed him money. By now, the neighbors were fully tuned in. One lady was even recording with her phone while whispering commentary like it was a UFC fight. Lucy's face turned beet red, but she still barked orders like she was running a boot camp. Get him! He's resisting HOA authority. The fourth one, clearly the most nervous of the bunch, tried one last desperate attempt. His hands shook as he reached into his jacket for what looked like zip ties. He barely had time to blink before I disarmed him and sent him staggering backwards into Lucy's heels, nearly toppling her. That's when I looked her dead in the eyes. She screeched, "You'll regret this." But I cut her off coldly. "No, Lucy, you will." Then, with every neighbor watching, I pulled out the one thing none of them expected. My badge. The same badge I'd kept quiet about for years, waiting for the day someone pushed too far. FBI. The shockwave across the street was priceless. Lucy froze like a statue, her jaw hanging lower than property values under her reign. If you're enjoying the story so far, don't forget to like and subscribe. The second my badge flashed, you could hear the collective gasp from every porch, window, and backyard across the street. The fake HOA enforcers were still rolling around like clowns at a circus. But Lucy? She stood there, silent for the first time in her life. The woman who fined people for mailbox colors suddenly looked like a deer caught in the headlights of her own downfall. I tapped my earpiece and sent the alert I had prepped the moment that SUV stopped. Real squad cars roared into the neighborhood, sirens shattering the false calm Lucy thought she controlled. When the real officers stepped out, the difference was night and day. Crisp uniforms, proper gear, badges that weren't printed on laminated sheets. The neighbors cheered like their favorite team just scored a touchdown. The cops rounded up Lucy's bargain bin bodyguards, and within minutes they were cuffed and lined up against their own car. The taller one cracked first during questioning, practically singing like a bird. He confessed that Lucy had hired them to rough me up and teach the neighborhood what happens when you don't comply. Another admitted they were promised bonuses if they could drag me out in handcuffs. Every word was being recorded. Every lie Lucy thought she could spin was unraveling in real time. I looked straight at Lucy, her hands shaking, her lips mumbling excuses no one cared to hear. "Looks like your HOA rules don't apply here," I said, holding up the evidence. She tried to protest, yelling something about me harassing community volunteers, but her voice was drowned out by the cops reading her rights. That's right. Her own show of force flipped into a live episode of Karen versus law enforcement. Court was swift. With the confessions, recordings, and evidence I brought forward, Lucy was stripped of her position and charged for orchestrating the entire charade. The neighborhood finally breathed free air, liberated from her ridiculous rulebook. The same neighbors who once tiptoed around her demands now laughed openly about her fall from grace. Lucy's empire crumbled not with glory, but with humiliation so deep it echoed across the block like sweet music. The end. Please like and subscribe for more HOA showdowns like this. Have you had a similar encounter with a Karen HOA or anyone in the HOA board? Let us know in the comments.